The Premier League is still in its early stages of the 2024-2025 season, but this Sunday comes a great game, at least historically speaking, as Erik ten Hag's Manchester United, after beating Fulham in the opener, now losing to Brighton last weekend, welcome Liverpool and this new look Liverpool and Arne Slot. Straight away, Shaka, what have you made of Manchester United's results so far this season? The win against Fulham, the close win against Fulham, of course, and the loss to Brighton. What have you made of them?
Same old Manchester United, if I were to be perfectly honest. Though, obviously, that comes with a little bit of a caveat. I think the injury to Højlund was significant for them. I'm not at all convinced by Bruno Fernandes as this false nine. Personally, left to me, I'd play Rashford through the middle. And I said before ball was kicked that I thought this had to be a big season for AlexanderArnold, and yet he's come off the bench for the most part for Manchester United. So I don't understand those decisions on Ten Hag's part. But to your question, Elmi, new season, same old Man U.
Same old Man U.
And while I will. I'm sure Manchester United fans are screaming at this point now.
No, they're not, Shaka. Surely they have some great perspective on how calm and commonality they are in terms of your comments. I'm sure they're very reasonable about it.
I'm sure most are. But let's go with most. A very small minority are screaming at their screens right now. And I think, listen, and they'd be right to say, listen, had that Zirkzee goal gone in, or Garnacho, whoever you want to credit it to, gone in, maybe we're having a very different discussion about Manchester United. And that's a fair point. But also, moments before Manchester United scored their first, Brighton, through Welbeck, hit the crossbar. Literally, not even a minute before. And then Manchester United go up the other end and equalize. So it really could swing. You could see this from two different perspectives. That Manchester United were a little bit unlucky with the disallowed goal. Maybe they would have gone on to win the game, or that they got their just rewards. It all kind of came. The old cliche in football, it all comes out in the wash. In this game, it came out in the same 90 minutes or same 45 minutes, as the case may be.
Yeah, and obviously Brighton looking good at the start of the season, getting that victory over Manchester United. But now Erik ten Hag finds himself in similar territory, Shaka, because it was his debut season for Man United where he lost to Brentford and Brighton and needed something against Liverpool. And indeed, they did get it. It was a 2-1 victory. We'll have to see what happens there. And look, it's still early in the season, right? The Lenny Yora's injury was major. Højlund, you mentioned, Luke Shaw, Malacia. Now, Mason Mount has a muscle injury. He won't be available as well. Manuel Ugarte is a good introduction when he comes eventually, because I think he will fill that major issue that Manchester United have, which is like when they lose that ball, the middle opens like the Red Sea. They don't really defend that well against crosses, right? So there's a few there. But what do you think is Erik ten Hag's biggest responsibility against Liverpool on Sunday? Because historically, Ten Hag has a pretty good record against Liverpool at Old Trafford. But this is a new look Liverpool. What do you think Ten Hag needs to do on Sunday to make sure at the very least they don't lose this game?
I think Manchester United's biggest problem has been in midfield and defensive midfield. Listen, don't get me wrong. I absolutely love Casemiro. I absolutely love Kobe Mainoo. But Mainoo new into the game, despite he really does seem to at times play as though he'd been playing this game for the last 50 or 60 years. The maturity of his game really is something to behold. But I'm not convinced of Mainoo alongside Casemiro. I just feel that while I appreciate Casemiro's experience alongside the inexperienced Mainoo, I just question whether they need more legs through there, and whether Casemiro can continue to do the job at the highest level. So maybe the introduction of Ugarte is, the signing of Ugarte is exactly what they needed. How quickly he'll be introduced, we wait to see. I say that because I thought De Ligt would have been thrown in pretty much from the start. Ten Hag started the first game against Fulham with Masraoui, who signed at the same time as Dijk. Yet Dijk came off the bench in that one, came off the bench against Brighton. Against Fulham, I get it. You win the game, so you kind of stick with the same, certainly, rear guard. But now that you've lost against Brighton, now that something needs to change, you desperately need to introduce Dijk. Maybe this is the opportunity to do that. So whether he does that, whether Ten Hag does that with Dijk from the opening whistle, we'll see. Whether he's brave enough to do similarly with Ugarte, again, we'll see. I still think Manchester United need another forward. Højlund, who I like a lot, but obviously has had his injury problems and through no fault of his own over the last couple of seasons. But then when he's out, is Zirkzee a good enough kind of replacement as an out-and-out forward? Do you move Rashford in there? I just feel that there are so many questions about Manchester United that I've not seen an awful lot this season that even begins to answer them.
Yeah, Amad Diallo, of course, is ready to try and make an impact as well. He scored that goal against Brighton. Manuel Ugarte, by the way, led in tackles in both Portuguese League when he was there and the French League with PSG. So he'll be a massive need. Let's focus on Liverpool here, Shaka Hislop. Arne Slot became, check this out, courtesy, by the way, of Mark Donaldson's statistic encyclopedia. Arne Slot became the first manager, right, since Graham Souness for Liverpool to win their first two games in the league, in the top league. The first ever manager to do it in the Premier League. Unbelievable. And I've been very impressed, Shaka, to see how quickly Liverpool has adapted to Arne Slot's tactics. What have you made of Liverpool so far, especially as they go ahead, against Manchester United, and they don't necessarily have a great record at Old Trafford, but still very impressive under Slot so far.
Impressive results. The performances have been, well, it's unfair to draw a comparison with Jurgen Klopp and that style of football, a little bit more pragmatic on a Slot. And so this version of Liverpool is still getting to know that. But results certainly force players to buy into whatever the manager is selling. Now, that transition was always going to be difficult when somebody like Jurgen Klopp and his style, his success, and just everything about him and his personality and how it reflected on this club, how do you succeed that? That's a question that Manchester United are still trying to answer post Alex Ferguson. So the results have certainly helped Arne Slot in that regard. And as they continue, I think you'll start to see players kind of buy in more, start to feel a little bit more comfortable about what's being asked. And similarly, Liverpool fans understand this transition or this period of it as much as anybody. So it's a good start. But truth be told, it's been an easy start. This game against Manchester United is their first real test. So while, yes, you can go back into Mark Donaldson's encyclopedia and start to.
I mean, it wasn't even his stat. I'm sure he borrowed it from somebody else.
I'm just saying we're treading on very thin ice when we're relying on Mark Donaldson's encyclopedia.
You said it, not me.
I'm just saying. But to that point, this is their first firm test of the season. So let's see how they cope with this one, and then we start to maybe start putting some of those pieces in place for Liverpool and what the picture truly looks like.
Yeah, it's very early in the season. As you mentioned, this is, with all due respect to Brentford and Ipswich, this is the first big test.
It doesn't matter how early in the season, we'll still make broad, sweeping analyses.
Hey, listen, everything for the clicks, baby. That's exactly what we're doing for. But here's another stat, though, because you mentioned Arne Slot and pragmatism, etc. I'm wondering what you're thinking in terms of, because it is essentially a radical change from what Jurgen Klopp has been used to. Of course, Liverpool, by the way, 92% pass accuracy against Brentford. That's the highest percentage in 20 years, meaning, of course, that they're more focused on making sure, not really as so much as possession, but controlled possession and making sure that this team goes forward. What have you made of this new Liverpool? Because also Darwin Núñez, I think, is going to have a hard time this season if he's going to try and break in that Lucho Diaz, Diogo Jota, Mohamed Salah trio. What have you made of this style, this philosophy, as it continues, and of course, as we look ahead to Sunday?
I would say interested to see how it kind of develops and comes together. Just because it becomes so used to Liverpool over the last 8 years or whatever it was, and that high pressing, high energy style. Now, again, it's you don't want to get kind of drawn in too deeply with some of the passing stats, but it does suggest, wow, it's in a high passing percentage, sounds impressive. I think more to the point, it kind of paints the picture about that pragmatism and how different it is from Jurgen Klopp's style. But again, as I said, results shape how a lot of that football will be received. That 92% passing success rate means absolutely nothing if Liverpool had lost the opening 2 games in exactly the same style. But they won them. They have shown who their identity is under Arne Slot, the differences with Jurgen Klopp. Let's see how it develops. Let's see how it fares against their first true test.
Are they title contenders?
No. I think the title is between Manchester City and Arsenal. They're top 4 contenders. I have Liverpool as finishing 3rd, but I don't think they come March, let's say end of March. I don't think. I think Arsenal and Manchester City will be concerned about each other and nobody else.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this continues for Liverpool, especially because I think they still need a defensive midfielder to get that protection going. But we'll see. It's a big test against Manchester United. Let's go with predictions, my friend. Actually, no, before we go into the predictions, specifically about Liverpool for a second, Mohamed Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Virgil van Dijk, Shaka, they're all free agents next summer. They can talk to other clubs from January. Are you worried about any of them? All of them? What are you thinking? Because Virgil van Dijk is 33 next summer. Mohamed Salah 32, around that. Trent Alexander-Arnold, in my opinion, the best right back in the game. And obviously he's going to have his suitors. What are you thinking in terms of that? Because that's a massive piece of homework for Liverpool's board to make sure that they either stay or they make some business out of it.
Yeah, I am absolutely concerned. I'm concerned around Mo Salah, given the Saudi Arabia interest of last year. I kind of thought that, okay, he'd go this summer, because how do you turn on that kind of money as a player? If you're Liverpool, you want to get some kind of return, especially in this era of profit and sustainability. I'm concerned about Virgil van Dijk, especially kind of, I feel he's been very measured in what he's had to say. And for me, a little bit concerningly so. And then for Trent Alexander-Arnold, while maybe if you'd asked me this 2 weeks ago, I wouldn't have been that concerned. But when you see his reaction at the end of the Brentford game, that
when he was sulking on the bench, you mean, after he came up, and Arne Slot went up to him and he said, "Listen, man, this is a marathon, not a sprint. Like, correct. We need the victory, and we need you." And he wasn't too happy, was he?
No, he wasn't. Especially, listen, I get Arne Slot going and having a word with him kind of during the game, but then at the end of the game, he's Trent Alexander-Arnold is still kind of sulking, and I think it was Luis Diaz who came and put his arm around him and almost had a giggle with him. Now, to your point, we've got 12 months before those contracts expire, and while that may seem all well and good and a long time, and Liverpool can put their house in order and yada yada, January 1st they can start talking to other people. January 1st, Saudi Arabia or PSG or Real Madrid or whoever else you want to throw into the mix can start having those conversations. And that makes those same conversations with Liverpool all the more difficult. And that is why I'm concerned, because it's not really 12 months that Liverpool are playing with. It's not even 6 anymore. Tomorrow's the 1st of September.
I mean, December is when it starts going. Yeah.
All of a sudden, we're 4 months away.
Yeah, we are. It's going to be interesting. By the way, Virgil van Dijk is going to be 34 next summer as well. So, there's something to be thinking about. Hey, since we were talking about, we do it for the clicks and we like to get that opinion going or whatever, let's put this out there for a second, Shaka. Let's say that Sunday comes and Liverpool don't just win against Manchester United, they destroy Manchester United. What say you about Erik ten Hag at that point? Do you think the alarm bells will be ringing even this early in the season? Because the reason why I'm asking, and it's not, I promise you, everybody, it's not just for clicks. It's because we've been here before, right? We've seen the situation. In fact, a large number of Manchester United fans were not exactly very happy that Erik ten Hag stayed. They wanted somebody else. So let me ask you this. If Liverpool win, and they win confidently and well against Manchester United, what say you on Monday morning regarding Erik ten Hag's future?
I've not been convinced that by Ten Hag, or certainly that he's here for the long term. And if we're going with alarm bells ringing, alarm bells for me were ringing for Erik ten Hag probably since January, if not before. And
so he shouldn't have stayed, in your opinion. He shouldn't have stayed.
I thought Manchester United would replace him in the summer. And listen, I get it. You win the FA Cup, and that changes conversations, that changes perceptions. But that was one game for me, and I thought. I was one game at the end of a very disappointing season. Okay, so that FA Cup win kind of quietens some of those alarm bells. A bad result against Liverpool at home, again, kind of shakes any disguise off. That Erik ten Hag for me is again skating on again. He's been skating on thin ice for me since. As I say, it's probably since December or January. Yes, the FA Cup win kind of changes that. Also, they were within minutes of winning the Community Shield. But I make nothing of that at all. I'm sure Manchester City don't. Manchester City couldn't be less concerned about the Community Shield in all honesty. So if Manchester United find themselves at the back end of a poor result, I'm not sure how you continue to make the argument for Ten Hag.
Yeah, and by the way, Manchester United have been on the end of massive destructions at the hands of Liverpool. I was going to talk about Mohamed Salah, who, 11 goals, 2 assists in 13 appearances in the league. He scored in the FA Cup, and his last hat-trick was in 2021 against United when Liverpool won 5-0. So it's not to say that can't happen. All right, prediction time. Shaka Hislop, Manchester United, Liverpool early in the season. Big game, but it's also a test under the new manager, Arne Slot, and obviously the continued test, as we have been talking, of Erik ten Hag. 2 Dutchmen going up against each other. What say you? What's the score?
Right now, I'm thinking Liverpool 2-1. I kind of underline the right now because I'm on FC later today and tomorrow. And
opinions change with facts. It's okay.
There's every single chance that in the next 5 hours, I will convince myself of something totally different. But
I expect nothing less.
Liverpool 2-1.
Right now, Liverpool 2-1. My friends, are going to go, yes, the draw. I think it's 2-1.
You're just sitting on the fence. Just sitting on the fence.
Hey, man, it's the best place to be. You get to see everybody argue. That's fine.